watching the clock, 10,000 hours go by. I keep putting in work, the tears are filling my eyes. I swear I've never been tested like this, but this is mine. It's not a matter of chance, just a matter of time. Never look back. If something standing in my way, I always push back. If something seemed impossible, I never took that. Nah, cause now I know better. Can't stop, won't stop, I won't quit ever. This world is won't take me. The highest fall, it won't break me. The blood and sweat is what made me, made me.
I'ma get mine, just a matter of time.
Welcome everyone back to the LCK, and we are indeed back for another translating session for the post-match segment by Dangun and Bitdol. And the reason is that SK Telecom could not finish out that series in game number 2. We thought after such a convincing game number 1 that game 2 would have been easy sailing. But definitely BBQ pulled in the stops to say that we're going to go on to game 3 and we're going to see what happens from there. But game 2 taken by the horn by BBQ Oliver, showing us that they're still here to play. And for SK Telecom, who couldn't finish in game 2, we'll see what errors and kind of the mistakes that could have held them back from the early highlights here. Obviously taking the red buff, taking the level 2 gank, trying this for the Gnar, and obviously taking the pillar in level 2. Was trying to just get crazy at the brink of it. It seems like they got it with Tall getting up that last auto attack. But we thought that basically a very early strike from Toronto, just starting off with the red buff and having enough to hit that pillar in level 2 and getting off the Gnar from BBQ from crazy. So it was least expecting level 2 gank from the Toronto, and of course a really good start for SK Telecom from that instance, and it feels as if they had to, after that play, figure out some ways to come back from that game, because after that gank, the top lane became a lot tougher to withstand. Obviously with the Gnar, when you are behind, there's very little you can do other than just farming from afar. We actually just saw the SKT, of course, that we get to see another instance of them trying to force something around the Rift Herald, and of course we'll get to see that in the highlights a bit soon, but we'll see exactly what we do. And BBQ Oliver starting off the Rift Herald, and it seems they got it pretty easily. Obviously the Rift Herald buff not taken, but FLICKR starting off with the ultimate and just getting back into the jungle just to run away, and telling him taking the initiative to make sure to protect that Rift Herald buff from going down. And it just feels like the both supports are just looking towards each other. Effort and Ignar just kind of looking for who's the one to take the strike, who's the one to go in, and Ignar and Effort can both go through walls and try to go for the initiate if they wanted to. It just feels like the control wars going on to both teams, but on their own ends, so it just means that the opposite angles are less of a visible thing for both BBQ and also SKT. So really having a hard time to knowing for Effort and Ignar, especially for both teams, exactly what the other support were about to do, or if the fact that they're even there is kind of a mysterious thing just around this moment here. And it goes to show you that obviously the teleport that did come in with everybody else kind of going back to their own lane. You see Trig always still going for his own jungle. Effort was right there. Obviously, like I said, no vision whatsoever when you come past that wall, and had to just make sure you had to get away from that. Of course, a close call from Effort, who was struggling a little bit later in that game, but also a very dangerous situation there for him and SK Telecom. So kind of almost completing the mission of just resisting them out of that Rift Herald buff. In the end, whenever you do have that timer after that buff does go out, so SKT Telecom was just trying to extend the time to make sure start off the visibility there, but altogether the fans were really reacting in terms of BBQ Oliver obviously coming back in that game number 2 and showing off a nice win. And we thought that SK Telecom would have taken that game too, especially from the looks of that early game, but BBQ just holding it strong to win that game 2, now extending it up to game number 3. And with a lot of compliments on their chickens, goes to compliment on their plays as well in game number 2. We'll see if they bring it up back in game number 3 and really take a reverse sweep on 2-1 over SK Telecom. We're gonna find out in a bit, but let's take a look at the one-line summary. You have to absorb and eat the heat. You have to consume the heat. So Bitto knows a little bit about consuming, and I'm sure you guys will know a little bit about that as well as we send it back to you.
Thanks very much, Joel. We're going to jump straight into the MVP. Stop talking about consuming because it's going to be Tempt 3-1-3. Finally, here's Azir looking good and able to translate into a victory as well for BBQ. Game 2 was all about this. Azir, he cops the shockwave, but doesn't care. Throws the Ori under the tower and looks real good doing it.
All about absorbing pressure was the one-line summary, but it's very difficult for SKT to do so when it was just solo kills and solo plays in many different ways. We actually didn't see the start of this play onto Blank. Trick was there to back it up. We caught it around here. We saw Blank go down and lamented the lack of damage on the Shockwave. That's because this was happening early. Atlas, before the Shockwave, had the oomph for the 3 or 4 items we saw yesterday a couple of times by Chovy. Great ult there to predict the flash coming through from Effort. Effort tries to ult out and goes down. Effort picked up pretty relentlessly, and I think SKT will want to recreate what they had in game number 1 in the bot lane, specifically a strong laning duo for Effort to profit off rather than just a risky engage champion and the Vladimir.
Yeah, because now the Xayah Rakan, it's 100% win rate no matter which side of the rift it is on. So we'll see what happens. Coaches have entered the booth, and guys, if you're expecting FLICKR to come back, it looks like he's not going to be there. That was Pyrion on your screen. Is BBQ also going to be keeping the same roster, using the momentum moving into game 3? I'm a bit flabbergasted that we don't see the master of the mid lane himself, FLICKR, joining the squad, but Pyrion is who they're going to choose when it all comes down to this game number 3.
Well, let's zoom in on the draft here that I think has been pretty pivotal in game number 1 and game number 2. Usually is, but so far BBQ have been able to pull off some nice things in the lanes, and they've gotten strong matchups. See if they can do that again here on the red side. So far we've been blue side focused in our game victories. Game 1 and 2 was SKT and BBQ trading those blue side victories, and we also usually have some adaptations in the bans. After 2 games of red side first pick Trundle into Trundle losses, we'll actually see a Trundle ban first up by SKT.
Yeah, Trundle going to be taken away. It was Zoe, Gragas, Nocturne taken away by them last time around. Gragas was in the follow-up ban, but Zoe fell through the entire picks and bans on both sides in game number 2, so probably going to give that one up as Swain banned on blue side.
And this time SKT want to return to a traditional marksman for Bang. The Xayah Rakan seems very likely if both are left open. I would actually consider banning Xayah against SKT, whereas with most other teams you would focus on the Rakan ban for an engaged support while Effort can play it. I think Bang is a great Xayah player whether he has the duo or not. They're going to ban the Rakan though, hoping that does price SKT away from Xayah.
Yep, so that's going to be the second ban. Talia standing out like a sore thumb. Nocturne could be considered. He's been banned once, but that was only in game number 1 and then got ignored in game number 2 as the Trundle Sejuani has been the priority. Kindred sort of popping up in priority as well, given the fact that Trundle has seemed to work out in the matchup, despite it being one that Kindred was normally picked into.
Last ban of the Ezreal here from SKT, wanting to reduce the effective marksman pool. Will this mean Varus is just a huge big-ticket item, you wonder? Talia and Nocturne available. Do you really mind as BBQ if you ban the Talia and see an enemy Nocturne, given that Nocturne has really waxed and waned in recent match days? I think you definitely ban the Talia if you're going to ban one. Could have considered leaving up both, but I thought Blank looked great on invading Talia, so this will relieve a lot of pressure from Trick. The final ban, Talia. What do SKT want to first pick here? They're 1-0 on Nocturne, but it feels like Nocturne's time in the sun has finally turned in some time in the shade. No guarantee we see a Nocturne on either side.
Well, it's going to be the Sejuani picked up from Blank, not wanting to go towards the other side of that matchup. Gragas slipping through picks and bans for the first time. So far this series, BBQ can go towards it if they want to. Trick, a fantastic Gragas player, but you're looking at Ignar as the man to pilot that one. Still definitely a flex that they can lean on.
A three-way flex too, because the top lane Gragas sees plenty of play,
true.
even if the win rate hasn't been massive. Taking the first pick, Gragas here.
Taking their time as well, just making sure that they're thinking about it. Not going to be a jungle Gragas though, by the looks of things, as Trick going to go back to a favorite of his over the last few series.
2-0 on the Kindred. He knows there won't be an explosive cast to make mincemeat out of the Lamb's Respite. See if he's going to be locked in here. The Kindred play has definitely leveled off a bit in recent matches, as teams have found it very difficult to close games with Kindred because you don't have another person who can face check, and sometimes the Baron is tricky to pick up outside of a 20-minute Baron. However, BBQ going to take away that Kindred. Will we see something like the Varus Tom Kench taken on blue side? Because with where the draft is at, if you're not going to be going towards the non-marksman, it's pretty hard to answer that duo.
Yeah, certainly a lot of options here, as the Tomkench Ash would be the China special.
Sure.
To come in from Bang and Effort. Almost said Bang and Wolf, because last time I saw Bang playing a considerable amount of Ash, it was certainly with Wolf. But Effort back on a little bit more of a disengage style support. Not going to be playing that Pyke anymore. As Tempt thinking about the Zoe, was banned in game 1, ignored game 2, and now might be just picked up on the red side here by BBQ.
Can Zoe and double ban against the Zoe? You could take away a Galio, for example, that SKT would definitely consider pairing with their initiation champions they now have. The Ashe does relieve the pressure of the Kindred pathing a little bit because you have the Hawk Shot in order to be able to spot. Not quite as useful against the Kindred as it is against Nocturne, because sometimes he's on your side of the jungle, the Kindred, rather than the Nocturne who's really focused on lane ganks. They're going to ban away the Orianna, a strong pick into the Zoe, and it could just be Orianna and the aforementioned Galio as the two bans for the side of BBQ.
Yeah, it could also be the LeBlanc as well, which has been a bit of a problem for Zoe's. Not sure what Pyrion has necessarily been playing recently, but looks like he has the same champion pool as Fake. So, of course, LeBlanc certainly going to fit into that wheelhouse very easily. SKT now to work out what they want to ban first. Takes them a while until they find the Varus button. Certainly one of the Ghost favorites here. And is it time, Papa Smithy? Could we potentially see that Callista come out from Ghost?
That's the one that I'd be excited about. The one he might fall back onto that actually fits here is the Yasuo. A bit of a higher risk pick, but one you could consider, because you have Gragas on your side. An evolving story. The Vladimir, of course, his usual fallback pick, is available for now, and I think if you see Pyrion go LeBlanc, it's at least a risk because it's a pick champion that's looking to snowball, and the Galio's so reliable. It's been a big pick for SKT with whichever lineup. It is going to be banned like we kind of foreshadowed, but the Yasuo, the synergy is still there, as we mentioned for the Gragas, so will actually be banned as a bot lane pick for BBQ.
And now we'll see what's actually going to continue to be flexed here, whether it is going to be the Gragas or whether Ignar actually wants to lock in his pick. It looks like the Morgana, the old Ignar special, is being looked at and is going to be locked away.
Remember,
so it looks like Crazy will be playing that on the top side of the map.
Could also be a duo lane. Could be Morgana
true.
carry and the Gragas support, and then a last pick for Crazy. Maybe BBQ, don't know for sure which lane assignment it is till SKT reveal their solo laners. What SKT has to do here, probably going to be ultra safety, you'd imagine, but the LeBlanc is available. That was the option that wasn't looked into. Will we see Pyrion bring the game onto himself a little bit? Fun stuff, he will.
Yeah, LeBlanc going to be locked away here for SKT. Can Pyrion actually do his best Faker's LeBlanc impression is the question. His impressions of most of his other champions have been pretty good, apart from maybe the Orianna.
And now it's a pick comp for SKT. A lot of pick CC on their side. And snowball very hard with vision control. What goes well with a pick comp? But lane dominance, this will be Tal returning to the Jace. Very much a power early to mid-game draft for SKT.
Well, now are they actually going to pick Crazy's champion here and decide to go with that bottom lane that you were talking about? Could certainly be an option here to try and give him some more control. Not a lot of champions that work fantastically well into the Jace, given his general power, but looking at Morgana Pyke to be played against SKT, a lot of support champions on the map here for BBQ if this one is going to be locked in, and Ignar going to try his hand at the Pyke on the bottom side.
Ignar gets the 5th pick. Pyke also can roam around the map because the Morgana can absorb pressure so well in a 1v2 scenario. This is a last pick exactly set up for Ignar to hard carry the final game. feels like a go big or go home game for Ignat in particular, because Ghost will let him roam, and if the roams come off and this pick comp falls behind in the mid game, should be big advantage BBQ.
Yeah, it feels like both of these teams relying on a snowball a lot here on both sides.
Kind of pick versus pick, right? It does feel like with the Zoe Morgana, the Pyke also, the Gragas is one of the survivable choices. It can punish the Jace because Jace wants to overextend for tower autos. You're in range of a cast, and if Pyke or Kindred is there, you're going to die.
And playing the Lamb's Respite minigame is actually much more scary against this kind of Morgana that's going to have some money. Those Soul Shackles, if you're standing in that Lamb's Respite with everyone, doesn't matter if the heal's coming through, that stun will probably just straight up kill you if you're just piling on top of her. So Ghost, certainly a lot about him this game. The Black Shields will need to be on point against the Enchanted Crystal Arrow.
Just feels like if a 3,000 gold lead is on the side of SKT or BBQ at 10 minutes, game's over. Because the comps do basically one thing. They snowball, they pick, and they grow a lead. It's very hard to find a comeback mechanic against either SKT or BBQ's draft.
Yeah, and looking into the jungle as well for this, because Blank has been playing the Sejuani well, but maybe not quite as often in the early game. It's been all about counter ganking for him. However, Trick now has a whole lot of ability to jump around this map and really put pressure on. BBQ have set themselves up with a decent draft, but SKT also able to get a lot of that moving in their favor as well with counter picks. Let's get into the game. Number 3, SKT, BBQ. BBQ fans certainly raising their voice because they have to make up for their lack of numbers. The Soli Stadium has certainly filled up, as look at all of the SKT players. Damn, it's a double as well.
That's a big Pyrian too. I imagine that was done after the fact. Some global fans in the audience as well. Hello to you guys. Thank you everyone for joining us at this unorthodox time, 4 p.m. Korean Standard Time, 50 minutes before our usual broadcast start.
Yeah, of course, I'm talking to the Americans as well. You guys having a little bit of an easier time watching yourself some LCK.
But they tuned in for SK Telecom T1. They got LeBlanc, but they noticed that name tag. It's still Pyrian Atlas.
Did Fake a name change? Oh, what happened?
He did not.
Oh, they just got their NA import to play.
That's
for
right.
Them,
in the NA time zone, yeah.
Oh, here we go. Man. And Pyrian looks better than what he did when he was on Phoenix 1 as well. So nice work, Pyrian. His LCK debut has been a nice one for 2018. As blue start here for Trick. Pretty comfortable as Crazy. Going to miss his first barrel, but not going to worry about it too much. Santa will be okay. On the top side, can Tal actually fight back here against the Gragas? I have a feeling he will have a lot of lane dominance, but whether the ganks are going to be on point for Trick is going to be the question on my lips. Effort and Bang, pretty comfortable here in this lane as well, but Ghost, once you get some points into that puddle, the laning phase won't really matter on the side of BBQ.
Both junglers got a leash bot side, and sometimes that means that they're both going to meet at the top side scuttle. Top side scuttle is marked, so it seems like Trick will be not picking up his first mark at this very early 2-minute time. Blank, of course, able to easily take down topside Scuttle. Scuttle's a trade, both of them in vision, so at least for now, the jungle pathing pretty predictable for Blank and also for Trick.
Well, Blank actually going to go very aggressive with this vertical jungling. Of course, did start on his red buff, so it could be a 3 buff with even Scuttlers.
It's risky for Trick to walk up. He knows Jace has priority here. It seems like he realizes it too late. He knew he was topside. Trick could have just gone and tried to contest a different buff, but now, of course, we'll get extended 3 buffed here because of the pathing from Blank.
Yeah, really nicely done. Going to be able to trade Scuttles there as well. So Blank, really great start on the Sejuani.
That's why the pathing was a hard leash on red buff into the Scuttle, because that means you can't actually vertically jungle if you're BBQ because you're missing out on a big buff. However, there's no answer there because Jace will have lane priority on the Gragas, able to push him in. Gragas can't respond. All in all, a very nice early game plan set up by SKT. Gets them a meaningful lead.
Well, Blank actually thinking about a potential counter gank up here towards the top side. You can see that wave is pushing in, so probably wasn't going to be able to get anything, but feeling that Trick might try something. Isn't going to, is now Trick looking around here in the mid lane. Pyrion, if he gets bubbled, we'll still have some trouble here, as there's the Paddle Star. Let's distort forward, but Pyrion not going to worry about it too much, is able to snap back pretty easily.
Here, SK Telecom in the bot lane, able to push up very comfortably. The Morgana takes a little bit more time to be able to have the puddle have real threat on some of these minions. So steady as she goes for the Morgana, and usually it's boots of mobility, the stopwatch is being ready, and then the roaming starts for FLICKR, and Morgana just has to do her best in a 1v2.
Yeah. Sit around, try and put puddles down underneath the turret is generally the option here for Ghost. Trick dancing around his Krug camp. Isn't going to be able to find too much on the top side of the map after that, as it's all being cleared out. Can the Kindred actually find a foothold here in this game is the real question. As Rift Scuttler will be coming back up towards the top side of the map this time, and that one will have the next mark. Of course, the first one, 100% going to be Rift Scuttle. Trick will know that. Blank as well. He's actually looking towards bottom side of the map.
Both of the junglers were at least tending towards that. See if Trick makes a beeline for top. The Gragas actually got the push onto Jace, but is going for a recall. Control pretty even at this point.
Ignite's going to land a Bone Skewer, but Effort not going to worry about it at all. Just eats up his Grey health himself. He will be fine. We've got both of the Grey health supports here on the bottom side. Takes a little bit longer for Effort to get through his, but at least you can watch him doing it.
I know you're looking for excitement from that, but
oh, I'm super excited.
The Grey health subverts kills rather than creates them, sadly. Ignite was spotted by the ward there. That is a quirk of the Vision game. Ignite doesn't predict the recall spot of the Tom Catch.
Opts in for the different brush, as Blank is once again going to be able to steal away a mark from Trick. Still yet to find one is the Kindred.
Gragas able to endure the Jace better than a lot of these top lane tanks. If I think about tank into Jace matchups from metas gone past, as we were forced to think about Orianna matchups, the big one was Maokai. As here we go, Blank might be collapsed on.
Yep, Pyrion does have level 6 though, gets a lot of damage on attempt, and that means Blank gets himself out of there without too much trouble. Control from the LeBlanc in the mid lane, understanding that he just needed to put some damage in.
Flash is down on Blank. No trade of a flash on the side of BBQ. So they still do get something, and the Raptors weren't actually stolen away. And it's the cookie jar, and punished is Blank, and maybe that will mean some marks go the way of Trick. I don't believe he has his first of the game yet.
No, he doesn't. Not quite. That means the next Rift Scuttle that's going to come up is certainly going to go over to Mark territory for Trick. Still done decently well farming things up. Is a couple of camps in the lead over Blank, who actually just managed to even things out. He's taken one lane minion. Has Trick to put him ahead.
4 is still the magic number to get that extra 75 range, and that's what the Kindred will be craving before the 15-minute mark or so.
Going to find Effort, but not a lot of damage here at this point in the game, as Ghost still wants to get his lost chapter. 56 to 44 bottom side as well, so good for Bank.
Just mentioning that the Maokai into Jace matchups, what we saw is Maokai could survive through and then had the targeted route to punish Jace when he was going for turret autos. The Cask and the Flash Body Slam are also pretty good punishments, so when it comes to these maneuverable tanks who can actually provide some threat with a Kindred gank, Crazy does represent that on the Gragas, and it's Comet Gragas for more laning phase presence as well.
Yeah, Crazy just going to do what he can. Does like the Comet so far this game. Played it on his Camille as well. We'll be able to clear out the cannon creep as well, so not getting tilted from Crazy this time around. Trick hanging around top side, wants to get himself a red buff on its second spawn.
Bit surprised to see Trick going the way of the Blood Razor on the Kindred. He's against a very maneuverable comp. You imagine that the enemy's going to be slippery. Speaking of slippery, Crazy uses Body Slam.
Yeah, and Blank actually slipped through there. Throws down the ultimate, dodges the one from Blank, but yes, he did get the reset on the Body Slam, but the cooldown is not quite enough. Trick flashes forward, wants to try and go 1-for-1 here, but he's only level 5, no Lamb's Respite to come in as Blank. He's going to die to the minions. That's going to easily pick one up there for Trick. Maybe a little over-aggressive, but Blank didn't have flash to get out.
But it was so important that Trick actually got the kill there because he was level 5 and Pyrion would have got the pop easily. Hits level 6 from the kill, and thus Lamb's Respite and the turret is a safe spot for the Kindred to get away. Only just burning down. Wolf does the last bit of damage, and they get away with it.
Yeah, nicely done from Trick, understanding the amount of damage that he had available to him. Looked pretty dangerous. But it is still going to be a kill going over to Tal, and that was first blood going to SKT as well. So good news story for them. Still, remember, this game is certainly one on a knife's edge. Whoever gets this lead to balloon first and the furthest is going to have a huge win condition here in this game.
Another mark being denied. Playing out of the death chamber to bot side. They was zoning away Ignar and Ghost, so he needs to pick up mid lane.
Abyssal Voyage, okay. Arrow was still being held here by Bang, but decides not to throw it at Tempt, who just hops onto the turret. He's going to go home. Some pressure gained, but nothing much else from SKT.
Not much of a cost, though, because the Morgana and Pyke are going to take a while to push back the lane. See if it's the boots mobility back from Ignar and whether he can start hitting the map. Doesn't have his ultimate, but still. There are some susceptible members. Tal, for example, no flash on the top side.
Yep. Lost Chapter is now done for Ghost and now has himself a blasting one. So the Morgana will be eating through minion waves pretty effectively. 10 CS behind, but should be able to get back down there for this minion wave, regardless of whether his teleport is up or not. Kyrian grabs himself a blue buff and everything is calm and collected. On Summoner's Rift for both teams.
Matchup going better than expected for Tempt. It's been an isolated mid lane matchup with all the action top and bot side, which you first thought would be, LeBlanc dunking on the Zoe. But with the Merc Treads rush and the Corrupting Potion start, no Doran's Ring start, this is Corrupting Potion start from Zoe, which you don't see too often.
No.
It's actually been a pretty comfortable laning phase. You're happy giving up 1 or 2 CS every couple of waves. If you're the Zoe, there's always that potential for a turnaround. It is Cleanse on the Zoe and Ignite on Pyrian. So if you go big, you definitely go home if that trouble bubble does hit onto the LeBlanc.
Yeah, Pyrian has to be a bit careful here in this mid lane. Does have a null magic mantle, so he is playing a little bit more conservatively as far as where his build path is going. SKT moving back down towards bottom side as Ash did get the Bilgewater Cutlass and the Berserker's Greaves. Bang, pretty comfortable here in this lane as they're continuing to shove forward. But no meaningful turret damage. Morgana has been doing her job thus far, and with Ignar roaming around the map, Ghost is going to have to continue just to batten down the hatches.
Good read by Blank in the right spot here for a counter gate. Knows it's very likely with Ignar roaming. Trick goes in first.
Yep.
I don't know that Ignar is here, but nice respect shown by Blank.
Just straight face checks. They did have a feeling that someone might be around there, so Ignar doesn't show himself.
I mean, Ignar going to mid lane against a champion with 3 dashes doesn't seem very likely, so it makes a lot of sense that he would be topside against the no-flash Jace. A lot of turret damage coming down. Ghost could walk up and pop his ultimate, but he's not doing it, so they're losing a lot of turret health.
Yep, finds himself another puddle. Of course, threw it down under the melees just so that he could tag effort with it as well. Lower that CDR just a little bit. There's Bang. He gets popped, and this is relatively meaningful damage. Takes him down to about half health. Have to catch yourself watching Morganas, especially when they change roles and they have some extra damage to them.
So used to the support. Definitely take your point there. Trick's here for a lane gank as well. Gonna be spotted, of course.
Just saving that turret, understanding that they don't want this lead to balloon for SKT, needing to protect these low health turrets.
But SKT have been ahead of the play so far in this game. Blank's been around the lanes for the counter gank. They understood they could push in bot side, and that top side was the only place that Ignar was likely to roam to. The scuttles have been denied repeatedly. Now it seems like the Rift Herald will be taken as BBQ desperate to turn their pick comp on, and SKT actually the more measured team in game number 3.
Redemption going to spot the Rift Herald and actually going to help Blank take it. Here is Tal is there helping him. He was the man that had pressure on the top side of the map. Crazy. He was underneath his turret. That's an easy one. First mark, I believe. Second mark would have to be. Going over to Trick as the arrow is going to land. Lamb's Respite comes in very, very early. Keeps Trick alive. But he wants to be able to flash out of here. Does have the stopwatch to keep himself in there. Buys time as effort just eats him up. Okay. Trick going to be taken down as the hammer gets laid in there from Tal. Abyssal Voyage. SKT even want more, but it's cancelled in the end. BBQ are going to back away, but they suffer the loss of their jungler.
The executions from ahead in game number 2 are how BBQ grew a lead. From behind, not so good here. Don't get the interrupt effort. Body blocks for Blank. That will be the Rift Herald. Should be mid lane turret following it up.
Yeah, Ignar was trying to get in there for the interrupt, but doesn't get down there. And Rift Herald will get a full charge onto this outer turret in the mid lane. Not going to be the end of the turret. And SKT still looking for that first turret blood. Bang, moving down towards the bottom side once again. Should have a decent chance of getting this before the Morgana gets here if he can clear out this minion wave quickly enough. Looks like the answer is no there.
From ahead in isolation in game number 2. Some great plays by BBQ is how they opened up a lead. The moment that Trick was collapsed on is Tempt.
Okay, Pyrian. Oh, I thought he might have actually gone back to that Mimic Distortion, but he decides not to. It's going to be Tempt surviving. Okay, Effort looking for more down here on the bottom side, but all he wanted was to take down the outer turret with Bang, and they do so pretty easily. He had his spellbook and utilized a Ghost there, I believe, just to run after Ghost, which is kind of immune.
Use the swap, get something out of the enemy. Doesn't actually have to invest any real risk to do so. Gold lead already, 2,000. It took a long time for there to be a 2,000 gold lead.
Yeah.
In game number 2, Crazy rolls top side. He has Iceborne Gauntlet, and this turret is very healthy. So your first sighting of this Tank Gragas versus Jace matchup is going very well. The side of BBQ. But otherwise, SKT, I think their pathing has been great. They've punished the roam from the Pike by not leaving him any gank opportunities and also taking Morgana's turret very early to deny a big play happening. Now Ignar trying to be creative to come to the top lane. Do they actually have kill pressure on Tal? My first thought is no.
Yeah, and the vision is going to be put down. Ignar is spotted. So not a lot of options here as the Morgana was up towards top side of the map as well, just clearing out minion waves as they move towards the outer turret. Tal's still here. It's got the bottom lane now moving towards mid as Effort, Bang, and Blank. Let's see whether Tempt is going to overextend. You best believe that that arrow will be flying at the Zoe, but the cleanse is thankfully at the ready for BBQ's mid laner.
Would love to return to this mid lane turret and take it out, but they're going to need one more member, you'd think, or some attempted turret dives to make it happen. Blank's getting deep vision down as Ignar been denied any meaningful damage, and speaking of that damage, they will register this mid lane turret.
Yep, second tower of the game goes over to SKT. This is the objective snowball that they were looking for. Controlled play, measured, and Effort going to even deny control ward vision. Here in the jungle of BBQ, Ignar pops his ward down, but they're just going to kill it immediately. That was 75 gold that you probably want back, as Bone Skewer not even going to find a target there afterwards. Trouble Bubble lands, but it's onto Blank, and he's got Effort there, even if he needed someone to body block.
SKT haven't done anything flashy, but they have been able to avoid the laning mistakes they made in game number 2, fall back on some very solid fundamentals, what you would expect from a squad with so much experience around it, even if it isn't all being fielded on the Rift today. And so far, in a non-flashy game, they have a pretty significant lead. So much standing gold already claimed by them. And already it feels like if BBQ can't find that pick soon, or this big black shield onto someone like Trick doesn't reap immediate rewards, the game may have already been decided by the solid early game by SKT.
Yeah, Trick has gone for that Blood Razor yet again, so seeing that one is interesting. Looks like it might be Wit's End second from the Kindred.
I'm going to guess QSS and Rapid Fire Cannon, but you're right. If you're just looking at what it can build straight into on a single item, that is a possibility. Just seems like you're never going to have enough time to get 5 autos off in a team fight as the Kindred against damage. This is a pick comp with high damage. LeBlanc, Jace, and Ashe can blow up a Kindred almost instantly if you don't twitch that ultimate. So seems low percentage to actually go for a Wit's End, but something that is open to the side of the Kindred.
Well, I feel like, you know, synergistically it works with the composition for what they want to do, given Lamb's fight is going to go off. But I see exactly what you mean. I think QSS Rapid Fire Cannon might be the option. Do the play-by-play thing where you look at the items and go, oh, this must be the item. Because these things together go into it. But SKT should be able to take this Cloud Drake pretty easily. First Drake of the game in 17.5 minutes. It's certainly a late one. They'll get it. Next one, I believe, is going to be Cloud number 2. That's when you really have to start respecting the Cloud Drakes.
And focus from SKT has been getting their lanes in order, with Blank going for counter ganks rather than necessarily monopolizing an objective like the Drake. We've actually seen a lot of teams in the past week and a half get 5 Drake stacks and lose because they haven't been able to actually return to the Elder Dragon, or the game's been decided pre-35 minutes, and trading immediate gold for the delayed payoff. As we know, unless Infernals and Mountains are out there, not always going to be worth it.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more difficult. Okay, Ignar gets himself a Bone Skewer, and Effort is going to get stunned up. Oh, Trouble Bubble from downtown out of Tempt. They should be able to get this, but the ultimate to turn it around. And Effort actually just wants to keep himself alive. Trick uses the ultimate to keep himself up, but it's going to be the Tahm Kench eating the Kindred, and they trade 1 for 1. That is not what BBQ wanted, because Tahm's on the bottom side, hyper-driving through this turret.
Trickening now with the negative synergy as Tull in the 4v5, like you mentioned, is the one who's able to push up. BBQ aren't going to be the best siege team. It's a Morgana, after all. So there's not actually going to be a turret trades to win. The puddle is going to hurt Bang a lot, but losing this turret is going to be a much longer assignment for the side of BBQ.
You're exactly right. Certainly going to hurt BBQ a whole lot more. Despite Ghost, having a bit of damage availability on the Morgana if he does land some spells. It's not kill threat underneath that turret, which is what they needed. Outer going to fall to about half health, but Pyrion gets a full minion wave to play with. And it's all just going from bad to worse to BBQ because it feels like they've been trading down for the last 9 minutes of the game.
Feels like it because they have, Atlas. You're absolutely correct on that one. BBQ have been really tunneled on. Roaming Ignar gets some kills, but they just never got the kills when they needed them. Their roams were so well punished, it was just too telegraphed to the side of SKT. And things like the Hawk shot and their general experience level only make that more reliable. Not huge damage numbers here, and Kindred was able this time to get off quite a lot of autos, but it was all about what was happening elsewhere in the 1, not what was happening in the 5v4 on the screen.
Yeah. And now SKT continuing just to try and balloon this lead. 5,000 gold at 20 minutes isn't necessarily the hugest that we've seen, however, still means a whole lot given the nature of the compositions from both of these teams. It's a little bit more of a ruthless situation coming out of BBQ and SKT if SKT fell behind early.
Yeah, draft expectation together, Atlas was. A 3,000 gold lead could have been unassailable a little bit earlier. 5,000 gold lead at 20 minutes is pretty significant as well. They have the Tahm Kench, who's going to be able to disengage any of the attempts to pick on the side of BBQ. The Kindred is not large enough for him to just roll around with a large magic damage shield and be able to carry a team fight. And SKT have so much map control that the pick comp is already being just stretched so much that maybe there are no picks to be found.
And it's also, SKT in this game as well, and slow and steady has certainly been a way that SKT have been able to win of late as well. The victories that they've seen is just biding their time until they can get behind Bang, who once again is on one of these champions that can certainly hyper carry into the later stages of the game. Does it a little bit differently. It's not necessarily high damage, but high control coming in from the Ash.
Control ward line, beautiful from SK Telecom. It's not quite a straight line, but it might as well be. They'd have to put one in vision, but otherwise they could have a straight line showing they control the river and even advanced of the river around the Jace. This is the sort of assignment for Jace that's pretty trivial, pushing up with almost complete vision.
You could almost call this control ward line the coop. Just keeping the chickens in there. Not a lot of options. BBQ. It's Effort actually able to move as far forward as he wants, as Ignar, you saw right there, moving the control ward line back past the outer turret on the top side of the map. And vision has certainly been a difficulty for BBQ.
Coop obviously very on the nose because they're playing against the BBQ Olivers, but also because they've got the Marksman, they've got the Blade of the Ruin King. If you're able to corral the enemy to Raptors at best, guess what? Baron is a pretty easy fallback objective because they haven't been able to sneak around and put down any of those wards around the pit that are hard to spot. Ignar just going to sacrifice a control ward, trying to delay the inevitable. There's so much pressure onto the side of BBQ, and with teleport down on Crazy, there's so few options for them to actually make a proactive play.
And SKT just know everything that they're doing. They know that there's a couple of members here down grabbing this blue buff. The control ward was taken away, but the information was gleaned already from SKT. Do they move back and try and grab more control ward vision here on the top side, meaning that they're looking for the Baron buff, or are they going to continue putting pressure onto lanes? Because outer turret was certainly the prize for SKT, as Pyrion almost gets trouble bubbled, but not going to.
I think the meta changing actually influences my answer to your question, because let's think back to Worlds last year with Huni on split push duty and an Ardent Sensor meta where everything was about the Marksman. If you remember, Huni's job was split push on Jace in the bot lane. You've got no wards. We can't put down any control vision for you. You have to do the best you can with no information. And that was just, you are a pressure valve. If they gank you, we'll take the Baron. In this meta, where the enemy team doesn't have a marksman, things actually do change. You want the vision line for the Jace because you have the marksman and the real ability to punish at the Baron, and the enemy team doesn't have a punish at the Baron because they don't have a true marksman. Kindred can do some things, but can't clear vision, walk forward, and claim the Baron. So in this case, I actually prefer, with the meta evolving, Control was to stick for the Jace to allow Jace's life to be a bit safer.
Yeah, unfortunately for Ignar here, the ward goes down in full vision of Pyrion. Gonna not get hit by the couple of spells that Tempt has thrown forward. Pretty slow game for Tempt so far, but he has managed to pick up 50% of the kills for his team. The Jace actually moving up with his team now as well. The unique thing, you know, going back to what you were talking about, Papa, is that SKT have set themselves up with a composition that can siege relatively effectively. So even if they don't go for the Baron buff, it's not like they're priced into it. They can set themselves up for different plays as well. Yeah,
2018 LeBlanc is the one that actually puts it over the edge, because the old version of LeBlanc in 2017, the LeBlanc we saw last year, was a spit pusher with a gunblade and a side lane and teleport, because it had very good sustain, able to get through the lane. The burst rotation was slower. The moment LeBlanc, this 2018 version, hits level 16, in a siege, you just pop over QR. You don't have to wait for the pop time like you did before. Someone is chunked out, and you can do that again about 8 to 10 seconds later. So you actually have a role in a siege, whereas the LeBlanc of the past didn't have that role. So this LeBlanc actually cements SKT as a supremely strong 4-1 team, and if the Jace is grouped, well, even better.
Yep, the scary thing is as well that the Black Shield is on about the same cooldown as that QR combo coming in from Pyrion, so means that, yeah, you can avoid some of the damage, and Ghost is an AP-based Morgana, so Black Shield is actually very strong, but still not going to be strong enough, as Bone Skewer not going to find Bang, who's just going to walk out of the way and doesn't even get hit. Wow, Tempt taking a lot of damage back there with the Blade of the King active, utilized from the Ashe. And Tal, once again, split push duty on the bottom side, doing his best Huni impression.
All about the collapse, all about the Ashe arrow hitting, and this little ward here will actually spot out Ashe. It's a nice bit of extra vision. The side of BBQ Bang is very much pushing forward, but has a Tahm Kench in his pocket, and SKT just all about pushing up that vision.
Yeah, and a lot of these buttons missing from BBQ. Bone Skewers going wide, Trouble Bubbles going wide. BBQ desperate to try and find a way to start a fight that's going to work. However, it's a tough one, and this is the sort of pick that you can look for when you have a LeBlanc on your team. Just throw a QR at someone.
I'd love if we could put it up. There we go. How many control wards are left? Because you make plays like this when you see the enemy team is being exhausted out of vision, and then if you can get all the wards down, you start the Baron. Right now, still some control wards left. We see Ignar trying to refill up, so they will have access to 5. SKT frustrating the side of BBQ, trying to continue to push up and gain advantages. For now, still not confident enough to actually pull the trigger on the Baron, and none of those picks are coming off for either team.
And that gold lead actually hasn't extended since that outer turret top lane was taken. So that is kudos to BBQ for slowing down this game, not falling into a rut, as that cute little ward off to the side is certainly earning its keep for BBQ as Ignar takes it. Mimic Distortion, and now Effort's going to fly forward. Abyssal Voyage is going to get Bang the kill onto the Pike. It's once again the problem Pike situation, as Soul Shackles are not enough to stave off SKT, and this could be the 2 picks, especially when it's the bottom lane, to get them to Baron.
The battle to get Baron vision eventually burns BBQ, have been on the back foot for the last 5 minutes. Onto the Baron. Trick has plenty of information about this, both the HP value and also knowing what's happening around the corner.
Relatively dangerous as Pyrion. He's going to be the last line of defense here as he pops back to the initial distortion. The shot blast very close to locking down Tempt, but he can still do damage from afar. The Trouble Bubble not going to be able to find the Jace though, who's now just trying to get everyone away from this Baron pit, namely Trick, who can't get in there in time. Effort extraordinarily low as Blank gets the smite, and it's actually, no he doesn't, the double smite was actually utilized there as Effort goes down. Baron is going to fall, and BBQ not able to even get to the pit.
Sort of beautiful execution from SKT around the Baron that's escaped a lot of teams this week. There was some vision topside for BBQ, but they had to invest heavily to get it. It's a great Abyssal Voyage play from Effort. They launch in Bang, they know the threat's not there. They have a gold lead, they back away. They get onto the Baron. Remember, they had laid the forward wards onto the red buff earlier, so Trick by a combination of the LeBlanc and everyone poking around, was never actually going to get in steal range. You think with the Kindred, oh, I'll get into the pit, I can Lamb's Respite. It becomes a 50-50 smite because the Lamb's Respite works on the Baron buff as well. But he was never getting in the pit because the goaltending by SKT around the pit was top tier.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. And SKT knew that that was where he wanted to use the ultimate, so all they had to do was chunk him so that it was just a couple of auto attacks from a Jace, and he couldn't actually get over that wall whatsoever. Really great play from Tal, actually getting himself there without using the teleport as well. So now, the 1-3-1 that's in effect, if they play around Pyrion's positioning, is so easy for the Jace, as Bone Skewer onto Blank is not the one that they wanted, and he's able to tank up Paddle Stars very easily. BBQ, they're going to lose everything on this one, and it feels like the game honestly ended when that Baron went down.
Gold lead has transferred as we identified. Both teams so overlapping, but SKT's execution doesn't escape them like it did in the laning phase in game number 2. It once again is a sort of reliable play that SKT as an org has been come to know. Pushing into this inner turret with a bit of risk here, but Ghost not going to be able to bend the binding like Beckham around any of those minions, and that means the Jace going to start pushing in bot.
Yep, Crazy trying to keep the minions off this turret, but Bang's able to get auto attacks onto the mid inhibitor. Okay, effort. Going to have to nom Bang to get himself out of that stun, but SKT can do this for the entire duration of the Baron. Still another minute and a half to go as they're looking to break open this base. The gold lead already ballooning to close to 11,000, and Pyrion unanswered as he takes down the first inhibitor turret of the game for SKT. Ignar was lying in wait to try and get this pick, but all of the buttons go wide, and BBQ now just need to deal with minion waves. Tempt not finding the trouble bubble, at least not close enough to try and lock down a kill. The Paddle Star goes wide as well, and BBQ Olivers, they're just going to continue losing objectives. The inhibitor on the top side of the map is dead for now 5 minutes. And the inhibitor turret in the mid lane is about to go down. Pyrion now flanking for his team. Ghost Water Dive from Ignar. As soon as he pops out of that, he's just a target as Tal has to flash. BBQ Oliver's looking for a little bit more here on the bottom side, but that buys time for SKT to control the mid lane. And Bang doing that with the volley, slowing down the approach of BBQ. As Bang actually does have to use his QSS, I believe, to get out of the way of the binding.
It's all by the book, though. It's really nice stuff from SKT. They've already got 2 inhibitors in bloodless fashion. Third turret really low. And they cement this one.
Nexus turret's being taken down by Pyrion in the meantime well, as they're happy to 4v5 in this siege with the Baron. They'll take down a Nexus turret and their last remaining inhibitor turret, and now the base is well and truly in shambles. Does SKT even need to go home? The Baron buff wears off, and that's one hell of a power play.
They just want to mouth a kiss in terms of macro here to the play, because just as Baron wastes off, they got everything. They got a Nexus turret, 3 inhibitors, and inhibitor turrets all in one play, and no one had to die for it. It was just solid macro by the side of SKT.
They used a flash from Tal and a Mercurial Scimitar active from Bang. That was what they invested, and they managed to get Baron, 2 inner turrets, 3 inhibitor turrets, a Nexus turret, and 3 inhibitors. I'd say that's pretty good.
It was balling. Yeah. Macro balling here by SKT. It was all about the laning outplays for BBQ in game number 2, but solid plays in game 1 and 3 from SKT. Won't make YouTube highlight clips, but definitely will make their fans happy after what has been an up and down season. BBQ, really nothing they could do. Like we mentioned, with 2 pick comps, the agency for BBQ was lost when they lost a couple of kills in the early game, and when Ignar's roams never paid off. The negative synergy that we saw in that one fight with the Kindred ult and also the Pyke ult was not something they had the latitude to make, and now SKT just need to close the game. They should be the 2-1 victors here. It would be insane if they were not.
Well, they just managed to go home and spend about 2,000 gold at least each, as the cast goes completely wide from Crazy. The Q's activated from Bang, who does get piked back in, but that might actually be to his credit, as he's tanking up the turret. Pyrion jumps forward as well. Lamb's Respite is now on cooldown, and that means BBQ Oliver's team are about to fall down. That shock blast was huge, but it doesn't matter. The Nexus is going to go down, and SKT a 2-1 victory in the end.
Well-deserved victory for SK Telecom T1. They keep rolling in with this FLICKR-less lineup 2 series in a row. And while they do drop game number 2 and give a lot of people pause, they end up closing the series 2-1, and it was not close in game number 3. Their fundamentals were strong. Mandu and Bengi come into the booth. We don't see Koma anymore, but 2 games in a row, they've been able to pick up the match victory. People will wonder, how much will this be the new norm for SKT? When will the great man come back? Because right now the match score is suiting SKT.
Well, I think FLICKR's getting some well-deserved rest, and Pyrion's getting some well-deserved stage time because he has been a great addition to this squad. Now the LeBlanc, an undying performance. He didn't necessarily crush the Zoe, but he did his job, right? And this is what SKT can do. They can get behind Bang. They can win with different people at different times if they want to. And this might be what the meta is calling for, a Bang carry rather than a FLICKR.
But Atlas, change is scary. We know that Koma is in the back. We know that FLICKR is in the back. But these are the names that SKT fans' fandom were created around. These are the legends of SK Telecom T1. They are still in the squad, but they are not being fielded. The team that is fielded still has experience. Bang is still there, undying so often in these games. And the fundamentals that were shown at the best times of SKT were on display from the 5 members who hit the Rift today.
Yeah, so it's the coaching staff able to instill the SKT mantra in these younger players. Players that don't necessarily hold the lineage for the squad. However, still a victory, and it's still a clean one. I have to say, yes, change is scary, but as Kazakhs would say, it's also good.
Definitely when it comes to the match score. 2 match wins in a row, and with Hanwha Live flagging, SKT could be in 6th and eyeing top 5 before we know it.
Well, that's a whole lot of damage as well. From
subtract FLICKR and Koma from the broadcast, and somehow SK Telecom have managed to find strength in a scenario that every other team would find unimaginable. Look at the damage numbers here. One pick comp got ahead, the other pick comp got behind, so the number's going to be bigger for the blue side.
Yeah. And, of course, a little bit anemic on the side of the Pyke as well. Unfortunately, Pyke has not been the aim of the game so far this series and so far today. 2 losses now for the champion, but SKT 2-1, so not necessarily what they want against the last place team in the league. However, a victory is a victory, and they'll move up in match score.
Good victory here for SKT. We'll have to look at the schedule to see who they're facing next after this match over BBQ. Can only beat the teams they're put in front of you. So today, on the 3-match day, they play against BBQ. They will face Jin Air in a couple of days' times, and you would imagine they would come in favorites for that series. They certainly will be higher seed at the time. Your MVP is going to be Pyrion, first MVP of the season. Let's see if they ask him any interesting questions here. It's our first time chatting to Pyrion in Korea.
Yeah, very excited to see what he's going to have to say and whether we're going to get the questions about FLICKR. You know, we've heard a few of his interviews saying that he does look up to FLICKR a whole lot. The way that he prepares for matches, things like that, certainly been something that Pyrion's been looking at as he's improved whilst on SKT. But to get the questions from the mouth of the man himself will certainly be exciting. Will be joining us for our MVP interview alongside Blank as well.
Didn't have any big LeBlanc plays, didn't have a huge CS lead, and yet did his job. You know, this is very workmanlike from Pyrion. They're not looking for any more from him, even on a pick like LeBlanc, which of course, we're known for the flashy. We're known for the hard carries from FLICKR in particular. This one had a skin, so you knew it wasn't FLICKR, but still, the victory, that's the part you like as an SKT fan.
Yeah, and the flash came in. I loved this play from Effort as well.
Didn't love the BB.
Yeah, that wasn't super great. However, the fact that he just ate the Kindred out of her own ultimate is certainly a bad news story. SKT played a lot of these fights throughout this whole series fantastically well. Bang dodging about everything, but that honestly looked a little bit more like Crazy throwing his cask into the wind.
Well, that was a tricky one. This was the great play from SKT, the map movement that won them the game. They got the Baron after having set up for it for the better part of 3 to 5 minutes. Close out the game from that Baron. That Baron got them 3 inhibitors and a Nexus turret, so you knew it was high value. So congratulations to SKT on our first match of the 3-match day.
Yeah, and congratulations to Pyrion for his first MVP as well. And speaking of MVP, we are going to throw it over to the MVP interview, so take it away, Joel.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Joe with your interview translations for today, and we're here with SK Telecom picking up yet another win, 2 in a row now, and seeing how they look like. After this one, it's going to be a question to answer, but for the meantime, we're going to celebrate this victory in itself, and we're going to talk with their MVPs, Blank and Period. The possibility, is it now there? Of course, now you are the closing pitcher, the one that saves the games. How do you feel, Blank? Yeah, after that game 2, I was getting a bit shaken, but good to get the win out of the way. And Period, you just seem purely excited about this win. It was a tough win, and just getting the win was great already. You do seem quite excited about the win. But of course, now you're doing so well to get the contribution to get the win. And for LeBlanc, it was a little bit different where you can be good at it as a champion, but to play it in the LCK is a different prospect in itself. But maybe you had different opinions about that. LeBlanc is a champion that I practiced a lot recently in scrims, and definitely appealed it to my coaching staff that I wanted to play it. And we actually saw 20 kills from you in a ranked game yesterday, but you lost. So something that kind of goes along with that. And I heard that, you know, maybe some other teammate kind of contribute to that loss, even if you were hard carrying the team. I was solo queue and I was playing LeBlanc, and for everybody else in the team, they were just feeding the lanes, and I think I was at 20 kills and 1 death and 10 assists and still lost. Let's speak of that just a little bit. And of course, in that same team, I heard that Bang's Vladimir was in that same team. And of course, now you talk about the traditional ADC and the non-traditional ADC. That's the modern kind, like the Vladimir. Maybe you want to say something about that, Blank. And we do say that Bang does better at traditional ADCs. For my opinion, I think when he does non-ADCs, then he sometimes does win. So, but I do believe that, you know, him playing the traditional ADC does get a little bit better in terms of win rate. So maybe I'll do a little bit of cheering on for that one. Of course, Blank has been keeping his seat in SK Telecom for a long time, and now you do see the SK Telecom members in solo queue. Who do you want to team up with when you do queue up with them? I mean, you could just say you're comfortable with anyone. I think Effort is a little bit comfortable to queue up with, and he does communicate quite well. And we do have a good synergy, so I like to trust on that. Of course, it does bring all the entertainment to the fans when all the SKT players do queue up together in solo queue. But let's talk about the games themselves. Let's talk about how it all began. And this was basically everything was around where the vision was given to you guys for everybody in BBQ going to top lane. I feel like you expected this coming. If I can remember, I think everything was kind of visible. You did see the Alistar, and we thought that, you know, the top dive was a possibility, so we tried to cover as much as we could. And Period, you do have in your plays, people do say that something that really isn't selfish, but really a contributor for the team is something that a lot of people have been giving positive feedback on. I always try to look at where my teammates are, and if I can provide a backup, then I always try to do that. You do that mistake-free covers with that from that mid lane. Really has been done great today, and of course we get to look at another example where everything was in line. And this was basically everything was about the initiative that came in with aggressive entrance with that LeBlanc. If I went in that situation, I didn't think that I was gonna die. 0% of dying there, so I had to go in there and try to gain some advantages. Blank, I'm sure you're enjoying that comment here and there. Whenever I look at Period, I kind of laugh. I just don't know why. With the SKT picks and bans, something that was a little bit significant. Really with the Jace that came in, I haven't seen that much from Tall, and something that was a little bit aggressive and pushing forward in terms of the picks and bans today. I think, yeah, Tall was mostly about putting the tanks on, but I think we can play a bit more aggressive now, so I think that gives us the confidence as a team to push the aggressive just a little bit further than we used to. Of course, so now you guys are experimenting with different compositions and finding some success. We actually heard that that Junshik is your Korean name, which is the same name as Bang, by the way, so can get confusing at times. I think it happens at least once a day. Of course, there are many people that can call you Junshik. Yeah, maybe the coaching staff can call us the same, so whenever he just says Junshik, then I just don't know if he's calling me or Bang, because we both have the same names. Maybe he could probably call you by your nickname now. He tries to put in the last name with it so we get less confused. Of course, the first name being the same can make it confusing within the team. But we can talk about the losses that came through for SK Telecom in recent times, but now you guys are now extending this win streak over to 2, and it has looked a lot better than your previous times in the season. How's your confidence going to the rest of the season? And trying to get to the World Championship is our final objective. But we're trying to keep that in line in terms of goal settings, and we're trying to get to there as much as we can. And of course, now everybody trying to get to the World Championship is going to be the final objective for all, but SK Telecom not excluded from that. But Pyrian, being your first interview now, I'm sure you have lots of things that you say, and maybe you want to thank someone in line for helping you get to this where you are now. Would you like to say something here? We know that lots of tough games ahead, but we're definitely working hard to make sure we get the best games possible, so continue to put out the support for us. And really early start to the LCK today, but still a win goes over to SK Telecom in a clean format. And for the SK Telecom, congratulations to them, and we're going to send it back to you guys after this interview.
Thank you very much, Joel. Great to hear from Pyrian for the first time around. Still, there was a little bit of an elephant in the room looming. You get a lot of information about why FLICKR is no longer playing for the team, but hopefully he is going to come back, or hopefully they keep Pyrian in because they seem to be winning.
The elephant in the room is that SKT is winning. 2 series in a row against, you could argue, easier opposition. They face BBQ Olivers today, they face Jin Air next time. That sort of win streak that SKT needs to maintain if they are to crack the top 5. Now only 1 match behind, but with certainly a real chance that the FLICKR Freaks will pick up a match victory today to once again distance themselves in 5th spot. SK Telecom can only win every match in front of them and hope results go their way. BBQ Olivers very close to being mathematically ruled out of top 5, even though we counted them out weeks ago.
Yeah, and if SKT can keep winning and hopefully some of the teams beneath them can keep winning as well, that might actually help them out. Like you say, a FLICKR Freaks finding a victory against MVP should be possible. Jin Air against Hanwha Life Esports is an interesting one because Hanwha just came off a very difficult loss against SKT themselves. So we'll see whether Jin Air can utilize that and try and take a win here. Jin Air suffering a difficult one against BBQ Olivers as well to start the BBQ win streak of 2 matches in a row, now broken by SKT.
We went 3 games in this SKT BBQ, so guys, about 20-minute break. We'll get back into it. Will it be Hanwha Life A, Hanwha Life B? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Rosters are certainly up in the air, but guys, 20 minutes and then we will be back to figure it all out.
Coming up next, Hanwha Life Esports, Jin-Air Green Wings, 2018 League of Legends Champions Korea Summer Split.